Chapter 5.3 Deimos. The driftwood cut through Deimos' atmosphere and shot through the night sky towards a shining gem of a city. It glistened like a diamond, radiated with lights, and rested on the cliff face. Underneath it, arced tunnels let a colossal river run through and cascade into a magnificent, earth-shaking waterfall. The ravenous sea below beat against the coast's jagged rocks, and save for the city, the planet's expanse was pitch black. The diamond-like city was the sole beacon. It didn't surprise Retta that its main draw was its ornate casino. Black onyx columns towered high, gold lace the trim, and red carpet ran down the marble stairs at the center. The city was built around this epicenter, and travelers showed in droves. The ships alongside the driftwood were the sleekest Retta had ever seen. Their curves caught light at perfect angles. Their hulls were waxed and shined like reflective mirrors, and their frames were light years ahead of any ships or skiffs on Earth. Whoa. She was enamored, pulled out her link, and took pictures. Deegan let her enjoy. He slipped a finger beneath the yoke, initiated the autopilot, and enjoyed her excitement. Better take your pictures now. They won't let you do that inside. I'll find a way, she said, turned towards Deegan, and told him, "Smile." Retta snapped a photo of him with the casino, and she flicked her link out and showed him. Nice view, right? She zoomed in on the casino, but Deegan panned away and focused on his face. Just zoom in there, and it's perfect for your background. She playfully smacked his hand away. Yeah, okay. You don't think? The autopilot dipped their ship towards the casino. They pierced through the waterfall's mist and skimmed the river's surface. The ship flew underneath the casino, through the tunnel, and followed the gas lamps. The channel was so deep, so wide, that the tens, if not hundreds of skiffs Retta marveled at earlier, were flying side by side with them. All ships followed the same course, and landed at the dock, where valets awaited. Follow my lead, Deegan said as they docked. He closed his eyes, breathed deep, and the light around him shimmered. It changed and refracted new imagery. His clothes changed into a crisp, fresh suit. His lapel was adorned with 2 blue hollow pins. His hair was slicked back, and Deegan noticed Retta watching. He decided to tease her. He feigned modesty and covered himself with a holographic towel. Hey, don't look, I'm changing. Yeah, like there's anything to see. She playfully plucked his holographic towel with a finger and peeled it away. Whoa, no peeking. Underneath his towel was a giant red X. We'll save that for later. He winked at Retta, and she shook her head. You're too much. No one remembers the quiet ones. Deegan opened up the cockpit and left the skiff. Hey! She got out and followed. Where's my hologram? They're just for me, he said, and noticed the valet watching them. Wait here a sec and I'll get you something better. He left, and Retta waited in the open while Deegan went inside. While everyone around her was formally dressed, she was in her same leather jacket, ragged white shirt, and bright red scarf. She felt awkward, leaned against her skiff, and was stuck waiting. The only other person was a man that looked more like a bouncer than a valet. He stood like a giant toad. His thick, rounded neck bent into his shoulders. He was suffocated by his collar, and his tie squeezed his neck like a crushed marshmallow. His throat bubbled as he breathed, his gut expanded wide, and he croaked as he spoke. You, he said, here with Deegan? Yeah, she said, cautious of his intentions. He should be back soon. He groaned. He waited with his hands behind his back, and his throat croaked. Please get here soon, please get here soon, please get here soon, Retta thought to herself. Deegan returned with a stupid smile and a shopping bag in hand. What'd you get? Try it on. She peeked into the bag and looked up at Deegan. Really? She pulled out a skimpy, velvet black dress with gold beaded trimming. It was practically sheer in her hand. He saw the skepticism written on her face. Don't write it off. Try it first. It's even got pockets. Pockets were a pleasant surprise, but she had her doubts. She got in the ship, closed the cockpit, changed, and a few minutes later, returned. Clearly, Deegan chose it to his taste. It covered less than the skin it exposed. Gold trim lined a deep V that ran from her neck to her chest. At least, it would have, if Retta's scarf didn't cover the slit. You're going to wear... He eyed her scarf with disdain. That? Of course. I always do. She smiled at him. Why? Disappointed? No, of course not. You look great. He eyed her up and down, but stopped on the down. Wait, I bought a long dress. It was cut at her knees. Retta held the extra fabric in one hand and her sizzling laser knife in the other. Come on, a long dress? Do you know how impractical a long dress is? Deegan chuckled to himself. Guess I don't. Fair enough. She stepped out from the ship, and Deegan offered his arm to escort her. She wrapped hers in the crook of his elbow, and they walked together. She was surprised how firm and confident he felt as she held him, and they walked together as a couple towards the bouncer. Mr. Deegan, the bouncer said, slightly bowing his head. They know you here? Retta whispered to him. Of course. You didn't say that. I'm known in a lot of places. I thought you were a hometown hero. Hometown, their town, same thing. Retta noted his comment. Why are you so well known, I wonder? The bouncer held his hand out for Retta's keys. You can trust him, Deegan said. He's never scratched a skiff in his life. Unlike someone here. Retta rekindled memories of Nika's wrecked ship by Deegan's hands. He laughed and said, Hey, we were both flying. Sure, Deegan. Retta spun her keys and handed them to the valet. Sure. Deegan didn't convince Retta to give her keys. It was Tobias. She learned from him after they stole Nika's ship. Nika forgot a valuable lesson. Always put a tracker on a ship, he told her after the dragon spine. And a remote cut. They fly off into space, cut their engine, and cut the oxygen. Ruthless, Red told him. It's a lesson they won't forget. She didn't either. The entrance to the casino was an elegant arch, trimmed with gold, and the gilded theme echoed from ceiling to floor. The royal red carpet led down rows of marble columns. They were twisted and adorned with platinum and gold. They followed the path, and at the end, it expanded into a massive gambling hall. Grand tables were swarmed with patrons. Chandeliers the size of skiffs swung from the ceilings and shimmered with brilliance. They were the luxuries lost on Earth once everyone left. Hey, Deegan said to Red and pointed to a nearby restaurant. You hungry? I'd rather do this on a full stomach. Before she said anything, her stomach spoke for her. It growled at the first scent, and its voracious hunger overpowered even the commotion of the hall. Well, that's a yes. Come on, I got you. Deegan led them towards Chateau Caroso, the resident steakhouse of the casino. Retta couldn't even remember the last time she had a warm meal. She'd gotten so used to stale cereal almost every day. Lukewarm beans for Tobias were a luxury. Being here, with cooked meals, felt like a dream. Deegan brought them to the maitre d', a triangular, hovering bot only a few feet tall. It was painted with a butler's uniform, had a napkin draped over its wrist, and twirled its fake mustache. Hello, sir. A table for two? It said with surprising, human-like quality. There's bot service here? Retta said, surprised. Isn't that rare in the inner colonies? It usually is, Deegan said, the bot signaling for them to follow. But there's a lot of out-of-reach connections on Deimos. Retta took that as connections to Nexus, the leading manufacturer of bots. No one wanted to admit the largest tech corporation could have illegal mafia ties, but there were rumors. This seemed to substantiate them. Retta pulled her notebook out from her dress's inner pocket and noted it down. You even brought your notebook? I always do, she said. He smiled, amused by her little idiosyncrasies. They were seated at a table with a real candle at the center. A bot server floated over, its head a large, flat surface to serve food and drinks, and an extended metal rod came out its side as it lit the candle for them. Retta was so accustomed to fake candles that the idea of imported real wax impressed her. A few minutes? The bot asked. Actually, Red said to the bot, quick question. What's on this planet other than the casino? I am sorry, but I do not understand. Like, what's outside of here? I am sorry, but, the bot repeated, and Deegan interrupted. Yes, a few minutes, please. Okay, understood. The bot nodded and floated away. Deegan shook his head as it left. The bots are getting better, but you gotta stick to the prompt with them. They're not that intelligent. They just sound it. He took a sip of water. I still think they keep the better ones for themselves. 2 screens illuminated from the surface of the table and showed them the menu. Retta and Deegan looked it over, and Deegan initiated conversation. So, let's talk about the plan, he said, tapping his food choice on the menu and sending it to the chef. I use my augment. We. Uh-huh. She half paid attention. She salivated at the menu and bounced between the limitless options. Hey, you mind if I order an appetizer? No, it's fine. Order what you'd like. Retta tapped the first appetizer, then another, and then a few more afterwards. Deegan was shocked at how much she immediately ordered. Sorry, you were saying? Right, so what we can do is use my augment and... The server bot flew back with steaming appetizers at the ready. Small, levitating discs hovered out from his flat head. They flew and landed on the table to serve Retta and Deegan. She was enthralled, not by the bot's tech, but the hot, steaming food she hadn't seen in ages. Please, enjoy, the bot said, and floated away. Retta grabbed the steak tip with her fingers and chopped away. This is so good! She chowed down, and Deegan subtly slid a rolled napkin filled with utensils towards Red. He didn't interrupt her, though. It made him smile how happy simple food made her. Her excitement over a warm meal was infectious. Like I was saying, he said, unable to contain a smile while watching her. I use my augment, swap a few cards around, win some hands, and we walk away with easy money. You get credits for fuel, and pocket some extra to get whatever food you want. I like the sound of that, Retta said, nibbling on escargot from the next dish of appetizers she ordered. Speaking of which, Deegan said, interrupting her, what's your augment? My augment? She considered explaining the baton to Deegan, but she heard Tobias's voice in the back of her mind. You gotta know who to trust. I'm good at reading people, Retta said. That's your augment? Yep. Being good at reading people. I can tell what people are thinking. It's a natural talent, she said. Good for a game of cards. Part of her was bluffing, but another part of her felt more confident using the baton to read a specific mind. All right, then, Deegan said. What am I thinking right now? Well, that's easy, she said, still munching on appetizers. She waited to feel a spark from her baton glow, but when she was with Deegan, she felt nothing. See... Still nothing. What's the matter? I can't read you because you're two-faced. What? Deegan yipped in a playful tease. What's that supposed to mean? You're quite literally two-faced. You change the way you look. How am I supposed to know what you're thinking when I can't even be sure if this is your real face? Nah, Deegan said playfully and leaned back. You're making excuses. I'm not making excuses, she said, clearly making excuses. She leaned closer to him over the table and reiterated, I'm telling you, I can read people. All right, he said, smirking and looking around the restaurant. At a table nearby, he saw a portly, balding man with thick hollow lenses that magnified his eyes. He sat alone at a candlelit table meant for two. Read that guy, then. What do you think he's like? 'Cause what I see is a guy alone with a lot of cash ready to be skimmed, Deegan said, pointing out the man. Imagine being that guy. Yeah, Retta said, letting her mind wander. What would it mean to be that person? To go to a restaurant alone? To get a table for two just for one? She looked at the prices on the menu, and Chateau Caroso was not a cheap place to eat. He must have money. He must be successful somewhere, but he's still alone. Like anyone, Retta had these thoughts before, but this time she lingered on them. She let herself be awash in that feeling, that loneliness, that emptiness. She sat with it, like he sat on his own, and those feelings felt more physical, more real than they ever had before. She felt the Baton's subtle glow. The Baton is a conduit, she heard Valkyrie's voice in her head. It connects us through what makes us human. Thoughts, feelings, emotions. The parts of what make us human. The parts that connect us through the Baton. She focused on those emotions, those feelings, and as she did, the radiant glow of the Baton grew brighter. Betcha what? Deegan said. Bet you can't get a free meal out of him. Retta hummed, pulled back from being lost, swimming in the man's emotions. I want to see if you could get a free meal out of him. You said you were good at reading people. Let's see how well you can use that. The challenge felt manipulative, but she shooed the thought away, considering this place was mafia run. All right, she said and smiled as she felt the Baton glow beside her. You're on. Retta stood and walked to the man's table. She brushed her scarf aside and wore it like a shawl, revealing the skin of her neck and chest. The Baton glowed at her wrist, and she couldn't shake the thought. Why is he here alone? If he wasn't at the casino with friends, there was only one reason. Money. And if he was here for the money, he'd know the games and how to win. Red had focused her mind, felt the Baton resonate, and saw glimpses of his thoughts. Like fleeting visages, she saw him at the poker tables, calculating the odds on the hands he was dealt. She saw memories of dealers pushing piles of chips towards him. She saw that while he was alone, he had more time to become a pro. I'm doing it, she thought with excitement. I'm getting better with the Baton. Excuse me, she said to catch the man's attention. I've seen you at the tables, haven't I? Me? The man was unsure and caught off guard by her approach. Yes, she relied on the visions granted by the Baton. I was impressed with how many tables you won. Oh, well, thank you. The man did not expect the praise, but enjoyed the pleasant surprise. I've always wanted to learn. I'm Red, by the way, she said and extended her delicate hand to him. With a clammy, cold grip, he took her hand and gently shook it. I'm Osvaldo. Osvaldo, it's nice to meet you. Would you mind? She placed her hand on the empty chair in front of him, and he said, No, please. A server bot came up behind Retta, pulled the chair out for her, and she sat with Osvaldo, placing her chin in her hand in interest. So, what are some tips you'd give a novice like me? She smiled, and Osvaldo was locked into the conversation with an innocent excitement from being heard. Well, he placed his fork down on his plate, ignored his food, and brimmed with excitement to teach Retta how to win.